The subjects of early photographs lived all their days under cloudless skies. Neither daguerreotypes nor Talbot's paper negative process could easily capture drifting clouds. One writer reflected on the daguerreotype era, noting that the sky was represented by a dull, uniform tint of a slaty blue color, without perspective or depth, and the complete want of every living creature gave the pictures a deserted and mournful appearance. Initially it was assumed that representing clouds in photographs was impossible, and some operators took to painting them in with ink on the back of paper negatives before printing. With improvement in lenses and the invention of the collodion process, the fleecy sky seemed to be within reach by the 1850s. Collodion's color sensitivity was limited to blue light, though, so balancing the exposure for the blue sky against the lengthier one required for the green landscape remained a challenge. During this period, instructional manuals and photographic journals regularly printed recommendations for how to achieve cloud effects, whether by natural means or dodges, as one photographer put it. Not only were photographers frustrated by the lack of clouds, which could make a stormy seascape royal beneath a paradoxically empty sky, but they also despaired of what remained in place of the clouds. When the sky was overexposed, the thin negative revealed the blotchy and streaky evidence of chemical pores on the plate. This defect was considered so grave as to completely ruin a photograph. One critic argued that such streaks often spoil fine pictures and oblige us to throw them aside. Others noted that the clear negative revealed a heavy, dingy, blotty proof or complained that the sky appeared dirty. The first answer to these woes called for the photographer to simply paint over the offending part of the negative or black it out with India ink, so that no detail at all appeared in the positive print. This advice was popular well into the 1880s, when an article for the burgeoning class of amateur photographers suggested the photographer should never rest satisfied with smutty dull skies, trusting to his steady hand to block them out of the negative with opaque. The technique was easily accomplished when the horizon was regular, but the introduction of any protruding bits, especially foliage, complicated the task significantly. A still more involved solution to the absence of clouds required that the photographer make two negatives, exposing one for the landscape and the other for the sky, then combine the pair in printing. Some made cloud studies at different sites, should clouds in the original view prove unphotogenic. Occasionally writers warned that there will always be an extreme difficulty in harmonizing these clouds with a view to which they do not belong, but combination printing, as it was called, was widely employed for landscapes throughout the 19th century. The French photographer Gustave Le Gray was celebrated internationally for his dramatic seascapes, which featured large cloud masses, often created through combination printing. Even after the 1860s, when it became more feasible to arrest the movement of clouds with improved photographic methods, the technique of combination printing remained popular. A prominent British photographer complained that combination printing was inartistic, claiming, "It is more legitimate to wait till a suitable cloud comes on the scene than to select a suitable cloud from a box and print it in." An enthusiastic amateur responded in print, "Printing in clouds from a separate negative is, to my thinking, when properly done, a very artistic improvement, and I fail to see why any exception should be taken to it. Skies utterly inappropriate may be added, and frequently are, but that is no argument against their use in a proper manner." Indeed, photographers who managed to include such atmosphere in their prints were widely admired, regardless of how the effects were attained. Reporting from the 1873 International Exhibition in Vienna, the critic Hermann Vogel praised a group of Yosemite photographs, noting Edward Muybridge, above all others, is distinguished by superb cloud effects, which, in these large pictures, look extraordinarily fine. Apart from picking clouds out of a box, photographers could also mask the sky during exposure to achieve the proper balance between light and dark areas of the composition. By the mid-1880s, this was among the leading recommendations for amateurs doing landscape work. Most operators employ the flap in front hinged from the top of the lens, which, by shading the sky, prevents it from being overtimed. Care must be taken to keep the flap in gentle motion, otherwise a rigid, distinct line will be formed on the plate. Graduated filters, which reduce the amount of light entering the top half of the lens and transition smoothly to a clear or neutral lower half, have been in use since the early 20th century and are still popular among contemporary landscape photographers who wish to record the clouds as they are rather than picking them out a box, or digital file, later.